should have done had that wetsuit on.
This is all part of the Oyster Highway project, phase 1, which is basically building 6 half-acre reefs in the middle portion of New River from Stones Bay up to Farnell Bay on either side of the river to stair-step it up to draw the natural populations out of Stones Bay to mix with the populations that we are bringing up on the catchers so that we have massive spawning and we load the New River back up with oyster spat.
Those oysters and catchers yesterday had 1 million little fish on them in about 2 days.
Just move them to that corner out.
The main focus of this project is clean water. You know, we're putting all these oysters, 4.6 million oysters in the water to help clean the water. And of course, that's the beginning of everything. You know, the birds, the otters, the fish. You know, everything's dependent on good and clean water, and that's what we're doing out here today.
Oysters they're ecosystem engineers. They build structure for fish. They're also a prey source for other types of fish, and they provide a lot of very good habitat for invertebrates and other aquatic organisms. The last 2 weeks we've been putting in bare substrate called oyster castles, and they're these square cinder block Lego looking deals that we put in on half the sites. And then the other half of the site is going to have these things called oyster catchers, which is a slightly more complex substrate that's actually been out seeding in the estuary collecting natural oyster spat to then be transported up here on site to the reef so that we can actually have oysters here on site kind of propagating to the bare substrates and also to hard shoreline structures as well.
Today we are unloading all of the oyster catchers off of the barge that was picked up from the Newport River lease site as well as Bogue Sound outside of IMS. They came up to the New River and we just unloaded 77 patties at reef number 4. We're now at reef number 3 getting ready to unload another 50 patties.
It's an ephemeral substrate. It's comprised of, in this case, jute erosion control cloth and Portland cement. We manufacture this material in its wet form and it dries hardened into whatever shape we lift it. Once we get it into these disc shapes, which we do call patties, we put those out and allow them to gather natural oyster larvae floating around. When the time is right, we do pretty much what we're doing now. We deploy them back on different sites such as this, the New River Oyster Highway, and we create little oyster populations. This material is 100% biodegradable, and it will eventually all go away. Yeah, for some reason these oysters don't survive. There's no pollution, no cleanup.
So I'm the executive director for the Coastal Conservation Association in North Carolina, and part of our platform, part of our mission is conservation. And while we're involved with this project is because we're supportive of putting more oysters back into the water. We like the concept of the oyster sanctuaries that are going to give us oysters growing in the New River again. We like the clean water aspect of it, the effect that oysters have on providing clean water and filtering the water in these areas, and also because it's going to provide some really cool fish habitat for fishermen as well. So recreational fishermen will be able to ultimately fish around these sites and catch more fish.
Oysters breed more oysters and more water gets cleaned. I think it's going to affect everybody that lives around here. I mean, everybody that lives in the area that loves the wildlife, loves the clean water, loves Jacksonville. I don't believe there's anybody it's not going to touch.
huge.
It looks like some gonads starting to develop there, so we could be on track to get a fall spawning.